The Forgotten Orphans of the Titanic. A true story of survival and silence. Two tiny boys stood alone on the docks of New York, clutching hands, speaking only French. No one knew their names, no one came to claim them. They had just survived the sinking of the Titanic without their mother, without a home, and without a single word of English. This is the true story of the Titanic's orphan survivors and the secret that haunted their rescue. They were just 4 and 2 years old. Michelle and Edmund Nevertell were not listed as passengers under their real names. On April 10, 1912, their father Michel Nevertell Sr. boarded the RMS Titanic with his sons using the false identity of Louis M.E. Hoffman. What no one else knew was that he had kidnapped them. Their mother, Marcelle Nevertell, had no idea her sons were even on a ship bound for America. A custody battle had turned bitter, and the father had taken the boys during an Easter visit, vanishing from their home in nice bands. Michel Sr. knew he was doing something drastic. In his pocket was a note, addressed to a friend. I am preparing to depart with my children. I am doing this because I cannot live without them. Pray for me. The Titanic, hailed as the unsinkable ship, was their escape route. First-class ticket, destination a new life in America. But fate had other plans. On April 14th, just before midnight, the Titanic struck an iceberg. Panic spread. In the chaos, Michel Sr. placed his sons into collapsible lifeboat D, one of the very last boats to leave the ship. Survivors later said he kissed them goodbye and told them, "Tell your mother I loved her dearly." The next morning, the boys were found alone aboard the RMS Carpathia. Two little faces, expressionless, sitting quietly. When crew members asked for their names, they could only reply in French. No one could understand them. Newspapers called them the Titanic waifs, Louis and Lola, and the orphans of the deep. Their photographs were printed across American headlines, but their true identities remained a mystery. Back in France, their mother saw the headlines. Imagine that moment, seeing your children's faces in a foreign newspaper, hundreds of miles away, not knowing how they got there, not knowing if they were alive or dead, not knowing what your husband had done, and realizing he never came back. She sailed to New York immediately. On May 16, 1912, over a month after the sinking, Marcelle was reunited with her sons. The photographs of that reunion are haunting. Her face overwhelmed. The boys, expressionless, too young to understand what they had just survived. But here's where the story turns again. Michel Jr., the older of the two, grew up to become a professor of philosophy. He lived to the age of 92. He was the last male survivor of the Titanic, yet for most of his life, he never talked about it. He once said, "My memories are those of a scared little boy woken in the night, carried through chaos, placed in a boat with strangers. I don't remember the impact of the iceberg. I remember cold, silence, the stars, and my father's voice telling me to be brave." The Titanic left 1,500 people dead. Most stories focus on the wealthy, the famous, or the tragic lovers. But the story of Michelle and Edmund cuts deeper. It's about the silence after trauma. The childhood stolen not by water, but by abandonment, by loss, by secrets. Edmund, the younger brother, died during World War II. Michel, however, went on to speak at Titanic memorials, never seeking fame, just truth. He remained a quiet witness to a disaster that shaped modern maritime law, safety standards, and the world's fascination with human fragility. This isn't just a story about the Titanic. It's a story about a desperate father, a grieving mother, and two children whose survival became a mystery for the world to solve. It's a story that reminds us, sometimes history doesn't scream. It whispers, in old photos, in half-remembered names, in the eyes of two silent boys on a ship that was supposed to be unsinkable. Must listen. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments, what would you have done in that father's place, or that mother's? Subscribe for more untold, emotional true stories from history that the textbooks often ignore. Because the past isn't just about dates, it's about people, and the echoes they leave behind.